Tonight, new restrictions on COVID-19. Presidential task force orders closure of schools and nightclubs, places new restrictions on religious centers and social gatherings. The National Assembly passes the 2021 appropriation bill. It's a budget of 13.5 trillion naira. The bitter truth from Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum. He is disappointed at soldiers meant to be keeping the peace in the state. I have lost faith in them, he says. And the EU Commission approves a Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for Europe. Plus business, sports, and later international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, federal government heeds to calls on national identification number to SIM card linkage, extends national identity and SIM card registration by 3 and 6 weeks.
On sports news tonight, 6 Paralympians at next year's Paralympic Games triumph at the second Para Table Tennis Open in Lagos.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has announced new restrictions as approved by the President to curb the spread of the virus. Some of the restrictions are a stay-at-home order for all government workers on grade level 12 and below for the next 5 weeks, the closure of schools until January 18th, 2021, while all bars, restaurants, nightclubs, and recreational centers are to be closed. The number of guests at weddings, conferences, and sporting activities, among others, have also been restricted to 50, while all gatherings linked to religious events have also been reduced to less than 50% capacity of the facility of use, during which physical distancing must be observed and face masks used. On whether or not international flights should be restricted, the chairman of the PTF, Mr. Boss Mustafa, says they're still studying scientific evidence.
The Presidential Task Force has surveyed developments and action taken by governments around the world, assessed our domestic environment, and has accordingly submitted its recommendations to Mr. President on immediate measures to be taken. Accordingly, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having considered our recommendations, has authorized the PTF to engage with states and the FCT to assume full ownership of this stage of the response by deploying legal structures and resources, including enforcement, to manage the pandemic within their jurisdictions. In line with the authorization, the PTF wishes to issue the following advisories to the subnational entities, meaning the states, for implementation over the next 5 weeks, because these activities are considered super spreader events. We would be presenting to the states our advisories with regards to A, to consider closing all bars, nightclubs, pubs, and event centers, and recreational venues for the next 5 weeks. Close all the restaurants except those providing services to hotel residents, takeaways, home deliveries, and drive-in shall also be expected to be closed. Restrict all informal and formal festivity events, including weddings, conferences, congresses, office parties, concerts, seminars, sporting activities, end-of-year events, to a number of 50 persons, as much as they can. Limit all gatherings linked to religious events to less than 50% capacity of the facility of use, during which physical distancing, mandatory use of face masks shall be strictly enforced. The PTF, on the advice of the Federal Minister of Education, expects that schools would have vacated from the 18th of December 2020 and remain closed till at least the 18th of January 2021 to enable the measures introduced to take effect.
Return to security issues now. The governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, has made a damning assessment of soldiers saddled with peacekeeping efforts in the state. After visiting Jacana community, where no fewer than 30 travelers were abducted last Friday by terrorists, the governor raised an alarm over what he calls a disappointing trend by soldiers and the police, whom he accused of unprofessional conduct. He also condemned the attacks on residents, emphasizing that most of the attacks carried out in the last 2 years took place between Auno and Jacana, a distance of about 20 kilometers, not far from the army base.
Honestly speaking, we are not happy. The Nigerian army has failed in discharging their responsibilities of protecting the communities. I left Maiduguri this morning. Between the distance along this line, I couldn't see between Auno to Jacana single army personnel, neither police personnel, including our policemen that we have recruited, established them rapid response team. We are not in existence. They are busy collecting money in checkpoints, harassing commuters, harassing villagers. The federal government and indeed the Nigerian army has to listen to the voice of the Nigerians in bringing peace and harmony to Nigeria. It's very embarrassing. Look at the numbers of vehicles that are being burned down. The police and almost all the personnel are busy collecting money close to Maiduguri. The Nigerian army are also collecting money in checkpoints. This is their main responsibility. And the irony of the thing is that nobody can dare to speak the right thing. They will soon condemn you. So we cannot just go in this area. And therefore, if the Nigerian army and the Nigerian police cannot protect commuters within a distance of only 20 kilometers for the last 2 years, I cannot foresee the capacity of the Nigerian army in defeating the insurgents in Borno State. This is the right time that the federal government has to rethink. The Nigerian army has to rethink and ensure the safety and protection of lives and properties of the people as enshrined in the Constitution.
Meanwhile, governors from the north-central part of the country met today in Benue State to discuss security and economic challenges confronting the region. Apart from the host governor, Samuel Otom, others in attendance were the governors of Niger State, Abubakar Bello, Abdurrahman Abdurazak of Kwara State, Yahaya Bello of Kogi State, while the Nasarawa State governor was represented by his deputy, Emmanuel Akabe. Some of the challenges confronting the region include herder-farmer clashes, banditry, and kidnapping.
Conference Hall of the Government House, Makurdi. 5 state governors and 1 deputy all gather for the first ever joint and economic meeting of the North Central Governors Forum. This summit is coming at a time of rising attacks on farmers by bandits, among other security challenges in the region. The governors agree there is a need to secure the region so as to prevent the pending hardship that may arise as a result of food scarcity.
We pray that the desired goal for this meeting will be fulfilled at the end of the day.
And then the governors go into a technical session with journalists barred. At the end, the chairman of the forum reads key resolutions agreed upon.
The North Central states would work together. They will share intelligence, like I said. We have common problems, and I believe it will make a huge difference.
Another important aspect of the meeting is the adoption of ranching for safe animal husbandry against the nomadic open grazing practices that lead to violent conflicts.
The states of the zone to request the services of agro rangers of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps to provide security to farmers and farming activities. 2, states of the zone to look into modern ways of livestock farming through the promotion of ranching and assistance to genuine livestock farmers.
The North Central, Northeast, and indeed some other parts of the country are facing intense security challenges, and meetings such as this in Makurdi will not only help in calling attention to the issues, but will give governors the opportunity to compare notes on how to resolve current security issues bedeviling the country.
And the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole says it has dealt yet another blow to insurgents operating in the northeast with the elimination of Boko Haram terrorists and destruction of their gun trucks in Ajiri, Borno State. This was achieved over the weekend following reports that the terrorists had attempted to breach Ajiri, a settlement in Mafa local government area of the state. The Air Task Force says it dispatched helicopter gunships to engage the terrorists, destroying 2 of the gun trucks and neutralizing several terrorists. In the meantime, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has extended the period of the Operation Sahel Sanity to March 2021 to enable the troops clear the remnants of the bandits in the northwest region. The Chief of Army Staff said this during his operational visit to the Special Army Super Camp 4, Faskari in Katsina State, where he explains that the extension is aimed at eliminating the criminals to bring about peace, security, and development to the region and the nation at large.
For Sahel Sanity, as you all know, we initially had the conception to run it for just a month or 2. But because of the exigencies of the situation, we felt it's need to extend it to the end of this year. Well, the situation determined, our line of action. We just came out from the briefing and we've assessed the level of successes, and we have realized that if we call off this exercise at this point, there is likelihood of it, coming back, or there is likelihood of a resurgence, because these bandits and other criminals are determined. They may lie low for now, and then come up once they see the troops have withdrawn. We are understanding the situation, and surely we are proceeding again to see how this exercise will be sustained further for the next 3 months, from January to March 2021. This is the plan, but if things stabilize before March, we are likely to call it off. But for now, we are going up to March 2021.
In part 2, after the break, we'll be joined by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, and he'll be discussing sectoral allocation on Budget 2021. Join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. New restrictions on COVID-19. Presidential Task Force orders closure of schools and nightclubs. Places new restrictions on religious centers and social gatherings. The National Assembly passes the 2021 appropriation bill. It's a budget of 13.5 trillion naira. The bitter truth from Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum. He is disappointed at soldiers meant to be keeping the peace in the state. I've lost faith in them, he says. An EU Commission approves Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for Europe. To the lawmakers now, 33.588 trillion naira is the budget for 2021. The National Assembly passed this harmonized figure today, but with an increase of 505 billion naira. The president had earlier proposed a 3.3 trillion naira appropriation bill to the lawmakers. Both chambers are asking President Buhari to send a supplementary budget because of the increase in oil price in the international market, which is hovering between $47 to $50 per barrel. Our correspondent Linda Kigbe reports.
It's the last day of legislative sitting for 2020, and both houses of the National Assembly have one major agenda before them: to pass the 2021 appropriation bill. President Buhari had submitted a 13.082 trillion naira budget to a joint session of the National Assembly on October 8, 2020. The National Assembly has jacked up the figure by 505 billion to 13.588 trillion naira.
The need to enhance the structure of the budget, to allow for the reflation of the economy in order to accelerate the process of taking out the economy from its current state of recession.
It retained the key assumptions proposed by the executive in the 2021 to 2023 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework (MTEF) and Fiscal Policy Paper (FSP). The benchmark price of crude was maintained at $40 per barrel, crude oil production 1.86 million barrels per day, exchange rate of 379 naira to $1, and a GDP growth rate of 3.00%.
Thursday, 17 December.
Although the National Assembly is retaining the proposed $40 benchmark price of crude, it observes that the increase in oil price in the international market gives the country the opportunity to earn extra funds.
A major recommendation in the view of increasing the total global oil price, which is above the benchmark of $40. The executive may consider the submission of supplementary appropriation bill in the event of seeming sustainable improvement of the oil price. This will help quicken the exit of the economy from the current state of recession.
I believe that at one point in the first quarter of next year, there should be a supplementary budget as early as possible, probably by January when we return, to ensure that we capture the vaccine needs, the COVID-19 vaccine needs of all Nigerians.
While the National Assembly is looking towards a supplementary budget from the president to fund some key sectors, some crucial sectoral appropriations include Ministry of Defense, which gets the largest appropriation, 838.559 billion, Ministry of Interior, 227.015 billion, Office of a National Security Advisor, 134.095 billion, Ministry of Education, 545.237 billion, Ministry of Health, 380.208 billion, and Ministry of Power, 6.069 billion naira. The Senate is to get the sum of 33.267 billion, while the House of Representatives will get 51.994 billion naira. But with a budget deficit of more than 5 trillion naira, and an inflation rate of 14.89%, the highest recorded in 34 months since January 2018. There are indeed tough days ahead for the country. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
We'll be talking about the budget in a minute. Before that, Senate President Ahmed Lawan is dissatisfied with the preparedness of the federal government to vaccinate Nigerians for COVID-19. This is in spite of assurances by representatives of government agencies in the health sector during a meeting with the Senate leadership today that the government is ready for a successful COVID-19 vaccination of citizens.
I don't have that.
You have to make a lot of effort to convince me of all those things said here everything is ready, everything is ready. This is a matter of life and death. If we don't have any structure on ground, we better start working on it. It's better the vaccine is delayed. Get the infrastructure right or the logistics right, and then vaccinate our people. Then bring the vaccines, get them contaminated or invalidated, and kill our people. So please, you have a lot to do to convince me. Personally, I'm not convinced of anything. All these things you said, we have talked to traditional rulers, clergy, blah, blah. We are talking about definitive statistics. Something that is solid, not neither here nor there. No more about neither here nor there. This is people's lives.
And now to the 2021 appropriation bill as passed by the National Assembly today. We're joined now on the News at 10 by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Jibrin Barau. He joins us from our studio in Abuja. Senator Barau, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Good for having me.
Great to have you. And how did the lawmakers arrive at the final figure of 13.588 trillion naira approved today?
Well, it's a long process that cannot be fully explained in this program. You know, we have our subcommittees, and we had to work. They work, you know, for days or for weeks, and we got the recommendations and also have some further requests from the executive, and you know, we put all those things together before we came up with what we presented today as a report, and it was approved by both chambers of the National Assembly.
The difference between the figure the House passed and the lawmakers, National Assembly passed, and that presented by the President is almost 600 billion naira. In taking this decision, did you consider funding of the budget?
We told you, you saw in the report that there was under projection of the total revenue to the tune of 100 billion. So we decided to bring that into our revenue projection and then get that appropriated accordingly. Not only that, the executive also brought a request for the upscaling of the NSIP program, which we know is very, very important to help the poorest of the poor, you know, those who are in abject poverty, and such spendings will also help in reflecting the economy and helping the economy to come out of its current state of recession. So that request will also take into the process, and so that's why you have an increase in terms of what we need to spend in 2021. The 365 billion for NSIP, and then the extra money we got, or the fact that we're able to see that the revenue was under projected, and that money, about 100 billion, was brought in and then appropriated accordingly. So that's why you find an increase in terms of the total amount we are going to spend in 2021 when compared to what the President brought to us ab initio.
I'm just wondering whether there is any provision for the procurement of vaccines there for Nigerians. We heard the Senate President earlier on saying how dissatisfied he is with the preparations that have been made by the federal government for the procurement of the vaccines to vaccinate Nigerians, beg your pardon. Was that also factored, or is that factored in the 2021 appropriation bill?
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, if you saw what we, you know, rolled out today in respect to, as contained in our report, we made mention of the fact that even though the oil price benchmark as proposed by the executive was $40 and is still $40 per barrel, the oil price in the international market has gotten up to, is hovering about around $49, $50, or even $51. So we said, oh, we had, you know, initially some came with the thought that why can't we adjust the price and then get more funds so that we can address issues that need funding. Then we said, no. We should allow the executive to have the latitude to harvest this money and bring up supplemental appropriations later whenever it deems fit. But in the closing remarks by the Senate President, we never knew that he had had discussion with the executive and government about the, getting vaccines for Nigerians. So it was then he said they started initial discussion with the executive to bring up supplemental appropriations later in 2021 to have this vaccine for Nigerians. So it's something that will come later, probably in the supplemental appropriations bill that is going to be brought in 2021. So that has not been captured into the 2021 budget as passed today by the National Assembly. Not at all.
Pretty interesting, considering we should be talking about procurement of vaccines. Chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Jibrin Barau, thank you for joining us again on the News at 10.
Having me in your program. Thank you.
When the News at 10 returns, the federal government heeds to calls on national identity number registration. Linkage to mobile numbers extends registration by 3 weeks. We'll have more in business news. Join us again. Welcome back. The National Population Commission today announced its readiness to conduct a nationwide census from June 2021 to early 2022. The Commission also acknowledges that the census has been delayed by 5 years and they have been in talks with the federal government on the issue. The Executive Chairman of the Population Commission, Mr. Nasir Kwara, disclosed this at the official presentation of the Demographic Dividend Scorecard in the nation's capital, Abuja. He adds that the Commission is ready to begin the census once the federal government gives the directive. To legal matters now, the trial of the former chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team, Abdulrasheed Maina, continued in Abuja today with a trial judge ordering Mr. Maina to open his defense. At the resumed trial, Mr. Maina's lawyer asked for an adjournment on the ground that he is unable to proceed with his no-case submission due to his inability to access the certified true copy of the court's record of proceedings. The application for adjournment was opposed by the prosecutor, who insists that it is only a ploy to stall the trial. After listening to both parties, Justice Okunabang foreclosed the right of Mr. Maina's counsel to present a no-case submission as he ordered the defendant to open his defense on the next adjourned date of January 26th and 27th, 2021. To infrastructure, the Rivers State government has commissioned the expanded streets in Elelenwo and Emmanuel streets in New GRA area as part of its urban renewal initiative. The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, who inaugurated the roads, commended Governor Nyesom Wike for delivery on his promises. For Governor Wike, the projects are aimed at improving the lives of people and businesses, adding that more projects are billed for commissioning in January. Our correspondent, Jeffrey Uzono, reports.
The urban regeneration vision to restore the garden city status of ancient Port Harcourt has seen Governor Nyesom Wike push the frontiers of infrastructure to the next level. From multiple flyovers to adjoining roads and streets, the city wears a new look. And today, it kicks off a series of road commissioning ahead of the Yuletide in a year buffeted by the pandemic, slowing down economic activities and revenue generation, but not enough to stop the governor, popularly referred to as Mr. Project.
In a nutshell, we all are beneficiaries of this program. From employer to employee, from workers to contractor to commuter, from residents to property owners.
This is a new look of Emmanuel, Elelenwo and General Diria streets, and Governor Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State is in town to commission the roads as he commends Governor Wike for his work.
I'm here on the days of Governor Nelson Wike the irrepressible Democrat who has demonstrated an uncommon vision and real courage in working for the Rivers people and advancing the unity of our country.
He then heads to commission the roads.
My privilege as the guest to the Rivers State Governor today, and to the glory of Almighty God, I commission this road for the good people of Rivers State.
For Governor Wike, infrastructure development is for the benefit of the people, and he charges residents to collaborate with the government in maintaining the road infrastructure.
And enhance the value of property around this area. This was just one carriage before. Here on the road you see people selling, but today, if you come here in the night, you think it's one of the areas in advanced countries. So we are very grateful that the communities gave us the support and gave the contractor the support. Without any inhibition, this job was done and not the specifics with drainage all through.
These new additions will no doubt ease commuting around the area as they join multiple road projects linking several communities. From Port Harcourt, Jeffrey Uzongo, Channels Television News.
Yes, and Wawodo now taking us through the world of business.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Barely 2 weeks to the December 30th deadline for linking of national identity number to SIM cards, the federal government has heeded to the calls from Nigerians to extend the date. The statement by the Ministerial Task Force on NIN and SIM registration says subscribers with the national identification number have until January the 19th to link their SIM cards, while subscribers without the NIN have been given 6 weeks extension till February the 9th to register and link the number with their SIM cards. The statement also adds that all USSD and verification charges remain suspended during the extensions, and NIMC will provide strategies to ensure that the registration process is in full compliance with the COVID-19 protocols. SunTrust Bank says it remains committed to the growth of small and medium-scale enterprises in Nigeria, and the management of the bank in fulfilling this has given out over 23.9 billion naira as loans and advances to the sector in 2019. While addressing the shareholders at the bank's 4th annual general meeting held in Lagos, the chairman of the board of SunTrust Bank, Olarewaju Shitu, noted that despite the challenges of the year under review, the bank is poised to do better in the years ahead.
This is the 4th annual general meeting of SunTrust Bank, and it's a mix of physical and virtual presence. Here, shareholders deliberate on the bank's performance. 2019 was no doubt a challenging year, but the bank recorded an increase in its balance sheet of 24.6% and boosted the SME sector with loans of about 23.96 billion naira. Customers' deposits also grew to the tune of 25.7 billion naira. Despite the positive records, the management is insistent on improved performance.
The biggest room is the room for improvement. We will leverage technology. Do not lose your mind. Partner with SunTrust. So help us, God.
At the meeting, some directors were also voted in.
The annual general meeting approves the resolution to be taken by poll, proposing the re-election of 1, Mr. Jubril Ako, Director retiring by rotation, 2, Mr. Muhammad Jubril Bade, Director retiring by rotation.
The bank also reiterates its commitment to the growth of the nation's economy through effective funding of the real sector.
We are a retail bank of choice, and we are mostly concentrating on the retail aspect of the market. We want to bank the underbanked, underserved in the society. We want to be the #1 bank in Nigeria. So we are hoping to grow. In the next 5 years, we are hoping to grow and to be one of the retail bank of choice in Nigeria.
According to the management, SunTrust Bank is committed to meeting the financial service needs of the communities it serves in a friendly, professional manner, while improving shareholder value, while maintaining an uncompromising commitment to the principles of honesty and integrity.
Let's head now to the equities market, which maintained a strong resilience against the bears for the 6th consecutive trading session, as total value of listed equities appreciated by 333.80 billion naira. Let's hear more from Ekaite Afia.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The bull run at the Nigerian Stock Exchange continued for a 6th consecutive trading session today as shares of Dangote Cement were on full bid, pushing the all-share index by 1.74% to a new high of 37,443.40. Now, the 9.9% gain from industrial heavyweight Dangote Cement pushed that sector up by 4.46%. However, profit-taking activities on banking and consumer goods stocks capped Monday's gains. The activity level was mixed today, although with a positive bias. Total shares traded were slightly higher compared to Friday's session. On the flip side, the value of trades were lower. The trio of AXA Mansard, Japal Gold, and Transcorp were the most traded stocks for the day. Traders say we're likely to see an even better performance this week compared to the previous trading week. That's all for the Stock Market Report. I'm Ekaite Afia.
And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. It's back to you, Marachi.
Thanks a lot, Anne. And still ahead on the news at 10, the European Commission approves Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for Europe, and more from our London studio in Around the World in 5. Join us again. Welcome back. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has received his first dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine at Christiana Hospital in Newark, Delaware, where he urged Americans to get the vaccine when it is available. Meanwhile, the European Commission has approved the use of COVID-19 vaccine jointly developed by U.S. company Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech, the final step to allowing Europe to start inoculations within a week. European Union countries, including Germany, Austria, and Italy, have said they plan to start vaccinations from December 27th. Here's Simon Pusey with more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has held an emergency meeting after several European countries begun closing their borders to travellers from the United Kingdom on Sunday. It's after the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, warned that a new variant of COVID-19, which may be up to 70% more transmissible, has been getting out of control. France has closed its borders with the UK for 48 hours, even to lorries and ferries. European Union member states are due to meet in Brussels later to discuss a coordinated response, as most of the European countries, including Germany, Italy, the Netherlands and Ireland, have already announced restrictions on UK travel, while the governments of India and Russia have also limited travel to Britain. Meanwhile, post-Brexit trade talks have continued after negotiators failed to reach an agreement over the weekend. The UK and the EU have until the end of December to agree a trade deal, plus other points such as fishing rights. Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has urged the Prime Minister to seek an extension to the transition period due to the recent crisis over the new strain of coronavirus that has forced the EU to close its borders to UK travellers. 2 men have been found guilty of the manslaughter of 39 Vietnamese migrants found dead in a lorry in the UK last year. The Vietnamese migrants, aged between 15 and 44, were found dead in the back of a trailer in Essex on October the 23rd. They had suffocated in sweltering temperatures in the airtight container as they tried to get to Britain. Following a 10-week trial, Romanian ringleader George Nica and lorry driver Eamon Harrison were found guilty today of 39 counts of manslaughter. After months of deadlock, the US Congress has found an agreement for a $900 billion stimulus package deal. Democrats and Republicans have said that the agreement for another round of pandemic aid will include direct payments to Americans, jobless benefits and funds for businesses and vaccine distribution. The deal will deliver the first significant infusion of federal dollars into the economy since April, after months of partisan gridlock that has stalled negotiations.
The American people wait for more emergency assistance ought to be over.
After months of trials, the distribution of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine has begun in the United States. The shipment of the vaccine started just 2 days after the Food and Drug Administration gave the authorization for emergency use. This is the second vaccine approved by the FDA that will reach the American public after the Pfizer-BioNTech one. The vaccine has proved to be 94% effective, and Moderna is expected to supply 20 million doses of its vaccine by the end of the month, and hundreds of millions of doses next year. The man responsible for murdering 2 people after opening fire on a synagogue last year in eastern Germany has been sentenced to life in prison. The terrorist, identified as Stefan B., opened fire on a synagogue during last year's Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur. Prosecutors have said that the 28-year-old aimed to kill as many people as possible of the more than 50 worshippers inside. He has been charged with 2 counts of murder and multiple counts of attempted murder. Sudan and Ethiopia are set to start negotiations next week to reconfigure their shared border. The talks will be held on Tuesday, a week after Ethiopian forces reportedly ambushed and killed at least 4 Sudanese soldiers along the border. Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed have said that the incident has not threatened the relationship between the 2 countries. A Chinese aircraft carrier and 4 other ships have sailed through the Taiwan Strait, forcing the country to mobilize its forces to monitor the convoy. The Shandong has been sailing towards the South China Sea, where China has made extensive territorial claims in the disputed waters. The ship's passage has come after rising tensions between China and Taiwan, which Beijing sees as part of its territory. The democratically ruled island has sent 6 warships and 8 military aircraft to monitor the Chinese ship's movements. And finally, a baby elephant has survived a crash with a motorcycle after receiving CPR. The accident, which occurred in Thailand, apparently left the baby elephant lifeless, lying on the road before a rescuer can be seen performing CPR on the animal and bringing it back to life. This group of people can be seen cheering after the elephant gets on its feet. The animal then walked away, supposedly injury-free, from the scene of the accident. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Hello and welcome to Sports News. 6 para table tennis players that have already secured spots at the Tokyo Paralympic Games have again proven their worth to emerge champions in various categories at the final of the 2nd Para Table Tennis Open that was concluded earlier today in Lagos. Experienced Paralympians like Tajuddin Agumbiade, Olufemi Alabi, Ahmed Koliosho, debutants Issa Ogunkunle, Faith Obazwe, and Victor Farinloye all recorded wins in their various classes. In the English Premier League, Ashley Barnes scored his first goal in more than a year as Burnley beat Wolves 2-1 at Turf Moor to move 3 points clear of the relegation zone. Elsewhere, Chelsea returned to winning ways with a convincing victory over West Ham at Stamford Bridge. A goal from Thiago Silva and a brace from Tammy Abraham was enough to give the Blues all 3 points in the game. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says the club is unlikely to dip into the transfer market in the January window despite its issues and attack due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the club's finances. City have scored 19 goals in 13 Premier League games, just over half of the 37 they'd netted at the same stage of the previous campaign. That's it on Sports News. Back to you.
And the main news again, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 today issued fresh restrictions on religious centers and social gatherings following recent spike in the spread of the virus. The PTF also ordered the closure of schools and nightclubs. That's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.